Hello, thank you for coming. Today we're going to do some yoga, a little bit of everything. Focus on mobilizing and opening up the shoulders. We'll also work on a little bit of balance, a little bit of core, something for everyone. So without further ado, let's come to our backs. Ideally, you'll have the long edge of your mat facing the screen, but no worries if that doesn't work for your space. You can take a minute to decide if you'd like to extend out your feet, or if you feel like there's a bit of sensitivity in that low back, see what it feels like to bend your knees, place your feet by your hips, maybe walk the feet out to the edges of the mat and allow the knees to fall in. This can sometimes feel a little bit more weighted and supported for the low back. Our practice is energetic today, but we're going to ease into it and try to carry that sense of ease and calm even throughout the chaos. As you arrive, feel your body making contact with the mat. Any invasive thoughts or feelings that creep up, just let them go. Do your very best to look at them, examine them, and say thank you, not right now. You can start rolling your wrists to bring a bit of life back into the body. You can wiggle the feet so that they land in alignment more or less with the hips. And now let's plant the palms beside the hips and press into the right aspect of the right foot, right aspect of the left foot, and start to turn the knees over to the right. Similarly, shift your weight to the outer left foot, to the inner right foot, and notice how the knees fall to the left. Make sure they're not anywhere close to the ground. We're really just slowly tick-tocking from maybe 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And make sure your feet are firmly planted the whole time. It's a gentle wake up for the core and spine. Notice how your low back stamps into the mat as the knees are in the midline, and how it kind of naturally lifts as it goes towards the side. Excellent. Once you even out the sides, return the knees to midline. Start to press into the feet a little bit to feel that low back really flatten into the mat. From there, we can lift one knee, lift the other knee, really feeling the work of our deep core, stabilizing this very simple but very strong movement. We'll be here for 3, 2, 1. Bring the knees into the chest. Give them a little bit of a rock and roll to massage the low back and spine. From here, let's plant our palms down beside our hips and lightly bounce our toes a few times, allowing them to fall somewhere where they land naturally on the mat. Press the weight into the feet, feel the low back flatten against the mat, and continue the journey to raise the hips. Not super high or anything for this first one. Come into a gentle Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. While you're holding at the top, imagine that you're holding a grapefruit or water balloon between the knees, just to bring in a bit of gentle intention to bring the knees together. On your next exhale, slowly start to lower the spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, placing it back on the mat. Let's do that one more time. Inhale to press into the feet, flatten the spine, and float the hips. Pause here. And then exhale to lower the spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, really savoring the movement. From our core, let's feel that low back flatten into the mat. Feel your feet get a little lighter. Imagine you're floating them off the mat, but still keeping the very bottom layer of skin in contact with the mat, and allow them to rise up slowly. Let's place the palms behind the thighs. Bring the knees into the chest once again, and see if you can rock and roll up and down a few times. to wake up the core, to massage the spine. No worries at all. This doesn't work for your body. Whenever you're ready, join us with your knees bent, feet on the mat, at the top of the mat. You should have the screen towards your left if that works for your space. From here, you can place your palms behind your thighs once again, loop the shoulders up, back, and down to really engage that spine. Feel one foot float off the mat, feel the next foot float off the mat, coming into Navasana, boat pose. If you're feeling pretty happy and stable here, see what happens if you allow your palms to float to the sides. Totally okay if you want to hold onto those legs for dear life. You're still working your core, still getting benefits and being present. Option to hang out here, or we'll come down to a low boat where we extend out our legs, hovering our heels a few inches off the mat, reaching up and back and keeping the tops of our shoulders elevated off the mat. You can do a snowman maneuver where you make an X with your body, kind of like a jumping jack, and then bring the knees together, lift back up to Navasana or high boat. Option to take a break at any point in time. Let's repeat that, let's say 4 more times to bring it to an even 5. Option to inhale as you lengthen to your low boat, to your snowman. Exhale to rise. Inhale to lengthen, snowman. Exhale to rise. Inhale to lengthen, snowman. Exhale to rise. And one more if you're still with me. Inhale to lengthen, make your snowman, and exhale to rise. Let's all grab our thighs, plant the feet, and drape the head towards the knees. Pausing in this resting position. Maybe shifting the weight side to side if it feels good for you. What a great little warm-up. Let's now simply turn towards this screen facing the long edge of our mat. No fancy transitions here today. And arrive in a comfortable seated position. We will work on some forward flexion, so feel free to grab a blanket, a towel, a block, or simply fold up your mat to sit on to raise your hips if you feel like they're a little tight. As you arrive in this seat, let's inhale our arms up overhead, taking up space, and then from the elbows, drag the elbows downwards, feeling that continued lift and openness in the chest, allowing them to pause at the sides. From here, let's sweep the arms forward, slowly tilt the spine forward as we reach towards the earth. Totally okay if you don't touch. So that we are folded over the legs, palms on the earth, reaching out in front of us. May or may not be able to see too much of me right now. On your next inhale, start to tilt the pelvis. Notice how that naturally straightens the spine, drags the palms back. And then to inhale, to raise the arms up. Let's do that a couple more times. Exhale to drag down the elbows. Feel the openness of the chest. Bring the elbows tight into the sides. Imagine that you're squeezing your shoulder blades together, noticing how that creates some freedom and openness across the collarbones. And then on your next exhale, let's tilt forward, reach forward with the arms, and pause here. Inhale, drag the palms back, tilt the spine upright, raise the arms up overhead, and let's do it one more time. Really savor it. Exhale as you slowly allow the elbows to drag down towards your sides, pulling them in. Exhale to fold and reach forward. Inhale to rise. Imagine that your body has no edges. You're really just kind of oozing into place. Nice. Sorry, maybe that oozing into place sounded a little gross. Once we arrive here, let's take our wrists, do some circles with them, getting prepped for some of the movements we'll do today. Notice if there's any catches or clicks. You can see I'm working with the wrist injuries, so if doing your full large circles isn't working for you, just take note, maybe make some smaller ones. Okay, again, no fancy transitions here. We're simply going to face towards our left. Place your palms on the mat and let's arrive in a tabletop position. We'll continue our wrist warm up by orbiting our shoulders above our palms, knees underneath the hips more or less. Rotate in the other direction. Imagine that you're trying to make this movement as smooth as possible, so that if you have a glass of water balancing on your back, it would be gently stirred, but it wouldn't fall. Excellent. We'll pause here. If your wrists allow, see how it feels to turn your fingertips towards the long edges of the mat, so you've got the inner aspects of the forearm facing each other. Let's gently move back and forth, side to side, feeling that opening happening throughout the underside of the arm and the tops of the arms, or for most of us, what is the more hairy part of the arm. All right, if this is feeling good, option to turn your fingertips all the way towards your knees. If this is feeling intense, you can inch your knees up closer to your wrists. Keep a gentle micro bend in the elbows, and you can gently rock back and forth, really feeling that lengthening happening through the volar aspects of the forearms or undersides of the forearms. Excellent. Let's return to a more natural tabletop with the fingertips pointing forward, palms underneath the shoulders. One last maneuver. We're going to press into our left palm and flip so that the back of our right hand is flat onto the mat. Start making and releasing some fists. I'll make sure everyone can see me. We're doing it like this, but against the mat. Noticing how this creates a little bit of fluidity and movement throughout the forearm, maybe even up into the shoulder a bit. Excellent. Let's replace that right palm. Same thing with the left. Place the back of the left hand on the mat and start to open and close those fists. I notice a big release in the dorsal aspects of the forearm or the hairier part of the forearm. Hopefully I'm not making anyone self-conscious. I truly am in no position to judge hairy forearms. I don't think the video is high enough resolution, but trust me on that. All right, let's return to our natural tabletop. Let's walk the palms out, tuck under the toes, and you guessed it, we are going to press up and back into our first downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Really press out through the palms, straight line of energy through the shoulders. Imagine that you're scooping out your back so the belly's coming closer towards your thighs. Bend through the knees, allow the heels to drift towards the mat. You can pedal out the feet if you'd like for this first downward dog. Bending one knee and straightening the other. Feeling the heels come maybe a little bit closer to the mat. Excellent. We'll pause here for 3, 2, 1. Let's start to walk the toes bit by bit, real baby steps up towards the arms, and see if you can keep both the legs and arms straight as we do so. Once you've arrived at the top of your mat where the feet are near the fingers, allow them to come on up, bend through the knees, and fold forward into Uttanasana, forward fold. Feel the release happening throughout the body. Imagine tension dripping off your spine and down your legs. We're going to inhale and slide our palms up our shins for a halfway lift position so that we pause with a flat back, again, not spilling that imaginary glass of water, looking right down into the earth in front of us. On your next exhale, pretend like you're a pool floaty, someone's deflating you. We're going to deflate all parts evenly. Great. This time you're a pool floaty that's being inflated. Let's shift the weight back into the heels. Feel the strength happening throughout the hamstrings as we tilt the pelvis, and use that motion of tilting the pelvis to passively straighten the spine as we slowly arrive all the way up into a Tadasana mountain position. Once you arrive, let's circle the arms up overhead on your next inhale. And just like before, we are going to pull down our elbows, bringing them close into our sides so that we really feel the opening throughout the front of the body, strengthening through the back. Let's do that one more time. Scoop up the air as we inhale, reach up high overhead. Drag the elbows down towards the side, feeling the opening of that external rotation of the shoulders. Great. You can relax, come to a natural Tadasana position. Maybe take a minute to shift the weight, experimenting with putting the feet closer together or farther apart, finding a spot where you feel really balanced and supported. Let's start to pick up the right foot, feeling our weight shift into the left. And then let's pause with our knee towards our chest, not all the way up, maybe about 90 degrees. Right foot dangling, left leg nice and strong. Reach forward as we step back into a high lunge. If that's a lot, no problem at all. Just take a step back from standing into high lunge. So all of our toes are pointing forward, our back heels off the earth. We're going to reach up and back to feel the opening through the front of the body, all the way through our fingertips, down to our back right toes. Pause here. And starting from your right arm, let's reach up and over as we spiral out into a Virabhadrasana to a Warrior Two position. Feel free to readjust your stance as I've done. Make sure that the shoulders are over the hips, nice deep bend in that front knee. As we send our arms out to the sides in a T, really imagining that you're being pulled in opposite directions. And let's turn out to gaze over our left fingertips. Pause here. Really feel your shoulder blades drawing closer together, just like we were doing before. This maneuver takes more strength than it looks like. Imagine that you're actively pulling the mat apart with your feet and feel that activation throughout the outer thighs. Great. Let's now straighten through that front left leg without completely locking out the joint. Maybe walk in a step or two so that we feel nice and stable. Reach all the way forward with the left arm and tilt it down, coming into Trikonasana or triangle pose. It's very tempting to kind of crunch in. We really want to lean our back back, makes sense, so that your shoulder blades are leaning up against an imaginary wall. Our left hip is really shining out so that you can imagine your belly button is facing straight out, not down. No need to come anywhere close towards the mat. As long as you are as flat and two-dimensional as possible, that's what will help you feel that activation throughout the core, both on the left underside, but especially on the top right. Okay, I know I should stop talking. Let's windmill that right arm up and down. Frame that front left foot with your palms. Step out to release the back foot so that you're coming onto the back toes. And then reach up with the left arm as right palm roots down, coming into a twist position. Your gaze can follow that top left arm. Really imagine you're actively reaching up. From here, let's windmill that left arm down. Plant both palms to face the front and watch for the change. We're going to walk our palms towards the long edge of the mat, coming down into a wide-legged forward fold. From here, let's draw some strength from the inner arches of our feet as we once again tuck in our pelvis, allow the spine to rise, continuing to inhale as we reach the arms up and overhead, and then drag the elbows down towards our sides. Let's do that one more time with a bit of a change. Inhale the arms up overhead, and this time reach your arms out in an X. Imagine that you are actively pulling your arms and legs apart, using a lot of strength from your core to maintain this position. Feel your power here as we return to the breath. Amazing. Let's tilt our spine forward, allow the arms to fall down towards the earth, drape the head towards the earth, and let's start to walk our palms towards the right foot, spinning the toes to face towards our right and the short edge of the mat. Plant both the palms, step back into a plank position, and we've been doing so much work in our shoulders. Let's pause here. Totally okay to come down to your knees at any point in time, but we'll do our very best to hang out in this plank for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's bend through our elbows and let's all allow the fronts of our bodies to meet the mat. Untuck the back toes, and using the strength of your back, slowly feel the front of your body lengthening as you rise up into a Bhujangasana Cobra pose, feeling very light in those palms. On your next exhale, lower towards the mat, tuck under the toes, and let's press up through plank or through your tabletop, and then back to downward facing dog. Let's pedal out the feet, and we'll do the same thing next side. Option to once again baby step towards your palms, or if you'd like, do a little hop to get up to the short edge of the mat. We'll meet in our Uttanasana forward fold. Catch a wave of your next inhale to rise up to your halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Feel yourself slowly inflate as you slowly rise up to Tadasana Mountain Pose. On your inhale, the arms can continue the journey up ahead just once this time, so make it count. Drag those elbows down towards your sides, landing in a very open Tadasana position. Turn your attention towards your feet, shift your weight, walk it out a little bit, find a spot where you feel light and springy and strong and balanced. Lots of feelings. And now let's slowly pick up our left foot, shifting the weight to the right. Now, option to just simply step back into your Anjaneyasana, or reach forward, tilt forward through almost a warrior 3 variation, and step back with those back left toes. Reach up and back into your high Anjaneyasana crescent lunge. You can look up if your balance is feeling steady and stable, really actively reaching back with the arms and noticing how that enhances a stretch all the way through the front of the body. The hips, the thighs, even all the way down to the foot. Let's reach up and over with the left arm, plant the back foot, coming into a Virabhadrasana 2 so that our right toes are pointing towards the short edge of the mat, left toes pointing towards the long edge of the mat. Shoulders above hips, might need to shift. Arms out to the sides, collarbones open, shoulder blades together. We'll pause here, returning to our breath. This time, you can imagine like you're trying to squeeze your legs together without moving your feet, and feel that extra little bit of elevation you get in your pelvic floor, the strength developing in the inner thighs. Let's straighten through that front leg without locking it. Maybe take a step forward to make it a bit more manageable. Tilt all the way forward with your right arm. And then rotate the body down into Trikonasana triangle pose. If you feel balanced, you can look up towards that left arm, really actively reaching up towards the sky, bringing your left shoulder blade back onto that imaginary wall. We'll pause here for 3, 2, 1. Let's windmill down that left arm, frame the front foot with both your palms, and release the back foot so that you're coming onto your toes. Let's shift our weight into the left palm, reach up with the right arm, coming to a twist. Windmill down that right arm, And we're going to walk our palms towards the long edge of the mat, arriving into a wide-legged forward fold. This time, let's inhale all the way up, immediately arriving in our large X or star position. Feeling ourselves becoming as big as possible. Too much of our life we spend shrinking down, but let's take up space. And now let's fold forward, letting it all go. Walk the palms to frame that front left foot. And now let's step back into plank. So knowing you can come to your knees at any time or take a break at any time, there's an option here to do a bit of a dance. So you'll slightly shift your weight to your left palm, tap your left shoulder with your right palm, and drop it. Shift the weight to the right, tap the right shoulder to the left, and let's repeat this movement as many times as you can, endeavoring to move the hips as little as possible. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now let's all bend our elbows. Option to come all the way down or press on up into upward facing dog. Let's shift the weight up and back, all joining in downward facing dog, pedaling out the feet. There's a great opportunity now to grab a drink of water if you have it handy. Maybe taking a bit of a break to give those wrists, the upper body a bit of rest, a lower body too. Wherever you're at, let's slowly meet in our downward facing dog. Great. Once you've arrived, option to baby step or hop to your palms. Arrive in a Uttanasana forward fold. Catch a wave of inhale to your flat back position. Exhale to fold. Shift the weight back into the heels. Imagine the spine is being lifted up by some imaginary invisible string. Unintentional Taylor Swift reference. Allow the arms to continue the journey upwards and then draw the elbows to the side. From here, let's shift the weight to the left foot. Raise up the right knee if you're able. See how it feels to kick out with that right foot. Notice the strength that's happening through the front right hip and reach forward with the arms rounding the spine. Let's now bend into the knee, draw the elbows back and lean back ever so slightly, welcoming any wobbles or all strengthening. One more time. Exhale to kick the leg forward, reach the arms forward and fold. Inhale to bend through the knee and ever so slightly enjoy a back bend, opening up through the front of the chest. From here, let's now reach forward with the arms, leg back through a brief warrior 3, and then plant that back right foot. Reach up and back with the arms to high Anjaneyasana crescent lunge. Circle the right arm up and over into Virabhadrasana through 2 or warrior 2. Feel free to readjust your stance here. Straighten through that front left leg. Reach forward, tilt the body down. This time, let's circle that right arm up overhead, towards the back, down, and back up. Following the arm with your gaze, noticing how this really activates the entirety of the spine. Excellent. Let's now windmill that top arm forward, frame the front foot, release the back foot, and let's walk our palms towards the long edge of the mat. We'll pause in our wide-legged forward fold. Catching an inhale to slowly rise all the way up to our star position. And then immediately dragging the elbows down, folding forward. Let's walk the palms to frame the back right foot. Press into our feet and step back into our plank position. So, lots of planks today. Option to pause here, come to the elbows, or if you want to try another little dance, step your right foot out, step it back in. Step your left foot out, step it back in. Let's hang out here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now let's bend through our elbows, coming down all the way, or pressing up into upward facing dog or cobra. Send the hips up and back to downward facing dog. Pedaling at the feet here, either hanging out in your down dog or coming to tabletop or another restful position. Have the courage to give your body what it needs. All right, from here, baby step or hop up to the top of the mat. Let's meet in our Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift, exhale to fold. Inflate to inhale as we slowly rise on up to Tadasana, allowing the arms to continue the journey. Drag the elbows down towards the sides. Move your feet to find a good position and slowly start to raise your left leg. It's interesting, I have a lot more difficulties balancing this way since there's just a blank wall and I have no point of reference. So I'll do my best, but you're going to want a more stable focus point or drishti than me if you're looking at me very closely. All right, let's raise the left knee up off the mat, really feeling the power and strength through our right leg. See what it feels like to kick out through that left leg. Doesn't need to be entirely straight, and reach up and over with the arms, folding forward over that leg. On your inhale, let's bend into the knee, tilting back a little bit, bending into the right knee ever so slightly, and then exhale to kick through the leg, fold forward. Try that one more time. Inhale to open, bend through your knee, lean back, open the elbows, and exhale to kick forward, reaching past that front left foot. Pausing through Virabhadrasana 3 or Warrior 3, and then planting your back left foot into high Anjaneyasana. Great job. Let's reach up and back, and windmill our left arm up and over, adjusting our stance if needed to arrive into Virabhadrasana 2. Lengthen through that front right leg. Option to make it a little bit more narrow. Reach forward, tilt into Trikonasana triangle pose. Once again, let's now windmill the left arm, following it with our gaze, feeling the muscles of the core work to support this surprisingly full body maneuver. Once you've completed about 2 revolutions, let's windmill the top arm down. And since we skipped the twist on the other side, we'll walk right over to the long edge of the mat, folding forward in a wide-legged forward fold. You can shift the weight from side to side, maybe sway the arms from side to side, using this as an opportunity to melt off any excess tension. Pause in the middle. Inhale to rise on up to your star X position. Really savor taking up space here. And then let's fold forward. Let's become soft and squishy and pour our body onto the mat. Walk the palms to frame the left foot, turning the toes to the left as you do so. And let's step back into a plank position. Now, option to hang out here or rotate out onto your outer left foot. Maybe stacking the feet on top, lowering the left hip, and then switching over to the other side, outer right foot, lowering the right hip. We'll do this for just, let's say, 3 more times. Or pause and hold plank, which is also a challenge. Or take a rest. It does take courage to give your body what it needs. And that is a challenge in and of itself. Perfect. Take a minute to even out the sides, shift the weight forward, and bend the elbows. I'd suggest coming all the way down, rising on up into Cobra or Up Dog. Lowering on the exhale, tucking under the toes and sending the hips Up and back to downward facing dog. Pedal out the feet. See if you can hang out here for 3, 2, 1. And now let's all lower the knees to the mat, taking a well-deserved break, setting the hips on the heels, maybe rotating out the wrists after all that planking. Perfect. Since we've cultivated a lot of movement and stability in the shoulders, thought it would be good to play with dolphin pose before we move into our cool down era. So for this maneuver, you can take your time, but join me in a tabletop and then walk the palms a little bit far forward and make a triangle shape, like so, using the thumb and index fingers. Place the triangle shape down and then place your elbows maybe slightly wider than the shoulders. From here, let's tuck under the toes. See if you can send the hips up and back. Very similar to downward dog. But you'll notice this does take a little bit more strength and stability in the shoulders. If you're pretty happy with your dolphin, you can hang out here. You can also experiment with walking the toes a little bit closer so that you're really feeling your shoulders activating to support the weight of your body. And then walking back. Let's repeat that a few times, either holding for stillness or taking your dolphin for a walk, if that makes sense. Walking up and walking down. These movements will strengthen the muscles we need to be successful in headstand and handstand poses. Wherever you're at, let's hang out in dolphin for 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Lower the knees towards the mat. Sit the hips back over the heels. Option to sweep the arms back behind you, shoulders folding forward, or separate the knees a little bit and reach forward with the arms. Coming into a child's pose if the arms are back, or a Bhaktasana, devotional pose if the arms are forward. I invite you to massage your forehead if your head is able to come into contact with the mat. A little harder to do in child's pose compared to this one. Let's return to our breath and have the courage to let whatever happened go. So much of the time we create narratives for ourselves based on whether or not these more challenging movements went good or bad. But let's just let go of the concept of good or bad. You're here, you're doing yoga. That's the important thing. Let's rise above some sort of evaluation of how we're doing today. Start to press some weight into your legs. Rise up the hips. And let's slowly come on to our backs. From here, I invite you to pause with your feet flat on the mat, knees bent, hands, palms down beside the hips. Let's press into the feet to flatten that low back and rise up once again to our bridge or Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, really activating the inner thighs to bring the legs ever so slightly closer together. On your next exhale, let's lower it down. Listen for the change. This time I invite you on your next exhale to rise on up to bridge. Noticing how it might feel different. And let's inhale to lower the spine. Let's do that one more time. Exhale to bridge. Inhaling to lower the spine. Switching up the inhale and exhale is one way to kind of discover new deep muscles and keep the body guessing. Now, option to hold one more bridge, and you can decide what you want to do with the inhale or exhale. Or if wheel is in your practice, or if you'd like to try wheel, and you recognize you're at your own risk if you get injured. It's not my fault. Let's take our palms, place them beside our ears with the fingertips pointing towards our feet. Let's start to press on up into our bridge pose. And if you're feeling pretty stable, continue to press on up into the feet, maybe widen them out or walk them in. Press into the arms to arrive in your wheel. We'll pause here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend through the elbows to slowly land on the back of your head, pouring the spine down onto the mat. Let's bring one knee into the chest, other knee into the chest. Awesome job, team. As we rock back and forth, let's tune in to our breath and our heart rate. They'll be there to support us. Feel free to enjoy any final movements that your body is craving. Maybe a twist, maybe a happy baby or stirrup position. If you don't know what that is, I'm kind of demonstrating variations right now. But feel free to close your eyes and choose what truly feels best. And maybe that is lying down and not moving. Often that can feel best. In the next 2 to 3 breaths, let's slowly arrive in our final Shavasana position, choosing what that means for you. Perhaps extending out the legs, allowing the arms to fall to the sides, palms up, making sure the shoulder blades are nestled underneath the chest. And we'll pause here for stillness. Allow the breath to wash over you. And really let everything go. We have a good amount of time for our Shavasana, about 3 minutes. So please allow yourself to melt into the mat. Allow thoughts to pass overhead like clouds, and trust that I'll cue us out when the time has come. Start to bring your awareness back to the body. Wiggle the fingers and toes. Allow that to naturally progress to circling the ankles and the wrists. Use that momentum to naturally move the head side to side, feeling those waves of motion spreading throughout the body. Let's inhale those arms up overhead, slowly and luxuriously. No need for a big stretch right now unless that's what you're craving. Drag back your right foot so the knee is bent and foot is flat on the mat, and press into the foot to effortlessly roll your body onto the left side. Take your time pressing into your palms to arrive back in a seated position. Option to flutter the eyes open if they were closed. Thank you very much for practicing some yoga with me today. I hope you had as much fun and built as much heat as I did. Have a great day.